All right, we're going to be doing an oil change on a 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee with a 3.7 liter V6 engine. This one happens to be a altitude trim, which doesn't matter, and it happens to be four-wheel drive, which doesn't matter, except that it might be a little easier for me to climb under it with it being four-wheel drive. Don't need a whole lot of tools for this, so I've got them laid out. We're going to need a 13 millimeter for the drain plug. I'm going to use a ratchet. You can use a wrench if you want. And then we have for the filter, it's a 15/16. I'm going to use the socket with an extension like that because it's a bit down in a hole. If you don't have a socket that size, you can use a wrench. It's a little bit harder to get to because it's recessed like I was talking about, but you'll see that. We're going to need funnel, just one of them. I've laid a couple out here. I'll decide which one is best for this application when I get in there. The oil specification on this vehicle is a 5W20. I've got a fully synthetic Mobil 1. Happened to be a good deal at the local auto parts today, so that's what I got. And it takes 6 quarts. The filter is a cartridge type filter. This is a Wix 10010. And then optional, but highly recommended, is some nitrile gloves. The oil is not good to get on your hands. It's bad for you and it makes a mess. And the one thing I didn't lay out here, but you'll see later, is my drain pan. Obviously you need to have that. And the paper towels just to put around places and clean up as we go through things. So let's go ahead and get started with this. All right, so what I'm going to do is go ahead and reset this oil light, the one that tells you it's time to get an oil change. Obviously it makes sense to do that at the end of it, but I know that probably a lot of you know how to change oil, but you don't know how to reset that light, so I wanted to put that at the beginning here. Pretty simple, but you have to know the secret. So get in the vehicle with the keys with you, and then you're going to hit the start button without putting your foot on the brake. If you put your foot on the brake, it'll start up. We don't want it to start up. We just want to turn the ignition on. So we start it up, or not start it up, just turn on the ignition, kind of let it go through this startup sequence here. Give it 10-15 seconds. Okay, so it looks like it's done with that. And then I'm going to, down here on the accelerator, I'm going to push it 3 times, relatively slowly, all the way to the floor. I think they have to be done within 10 seconds. Okay, so it should be done. What I'm going to do is go ahead and turn the ignition off, and then I'll start the vehicle and look at it, because the reading on the oil life, I believe, does not show unless the vehicle's running. So I'm going to take a look at that. So let's turn the ignition off. Now I'm going to put my foot on the brake, start it, let it again go through the startup sequence. We went right to that screen, and you can see that it says the oil is 100% good. So 0 miles since reset. So that took, looks like we're all set to go. I'll go ahead and change the oil out now, and I don't have to do this later. Okay, so before I actually start changing the oil, something my dad taught me, which probably is an old wives' tale or old dad's tale, maybe, is before you start changing the oil, especially if the vehicle's cold, go ahead and start it up, let it run for maybe 30 seconds. That just stirs everything up to make sure that any sediment that might be in there gets mixed in well with the oil and doesn't settle down before you drain it. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, start the vehicle up, and I'm just going to let it run for about 30 seconds. After that's over, I'll come back and start showing you the next steps that we go into. I'll just pull the hood latch right here. Okay, so I'm going to do another part of it a little bit backwards than some people would, and I'll tell you the reason. A lot of people will tell you to go ahead and take the oil filter out and open the fill cap before you drain. I actually don't like to do that, and the reason is that if you do, when you take the drain plug out, it comes squirting out fast, so because it's so easy for it to drain. I don't like to do that. It just makes it harder to catch. So I'm going to climb under the vehicle with my 13 millimeter wrench, take the drain plug out, and let it start draining there. I'm actually going to, when it first starts, I'll take a funnel to catch it, to make sure that I get it down into my drain pan so it doesn't go squirting out all over the concrete itself.
Okay, so I'm underneath the vehicle now. You can see I've put a piece of old plywood from a crate that I had laying around because this is the potentially messy part of the job. The oil drain plug is right here, and I have not jacked the vehicle up. A lot of people do that. I find that I'm able to fit under here, and I'm not small by any means. So I think most people can fit, and it's a step that probably not really necessary unless you can't fit under there. Plus, it adds a little bit of danger to the situation. So I had talked about using a funnel to catch this. I realized with the plywood I don't have enough clearance, so I'm not going to use it. I'm probably good. So I'll position this so that when I take that plug out, I know it's going to squirt that way. So I need to position my drain pan a little bit far away there. Okay, so I've got that in position. I'm going to go ahead and grab it with my 13mm wrench and take that out. And the last guy was pretty strong. That is one of the things that happens when you take them to a lot of times to a shop. They'll actually over tighten these, and that's the one thing that you can do that'll really mess your day up is if you strip that out. And in fact, I don't think I have that, so I'm going to change tools. Okay, I actually changed tools here. I didn't like the way that was working. It felt like it wasn't grabbing tight. But it seems like whoever put it on last really put it tight, so that's one of the things that where you can screw up is you can strip that out. That'll ruin your day. It is tight, tight, tight. Okay, I got it. Again, that's one of the things you don't want to do, and why sometimes yahoos that they hire at these oil change places can really mess you up. That was way too tight, and if they had stripped that out or taken the corners off that bolt, I would have a real problem. There we go. You can see how it shoots out of there, but I'm still catching it all.
While that's draining down below, I'm going to go ahead and take the filter off up here, which will then allow that to continue to go down too. There's a little catch basin there. Now, one of the crazy things about this V6 engine is they put this nice hatch here to get to the oil filter, but that's really stupid because it comes off like that. Now I can really get to the filter very well. So I don't know why they spent the time and money to put that hatch in. So there's your filter right here. It's a 15/16 on top. I'm going to go ahead and loosen that up, and that will again allow some more to drip. All right, so I've got a little cheap plastic food container here because when I pull that filter out, it will be dripping some oil. So I want to have something to put it in. Got my 15/16 here. Let's put it there. And again, they had probably over tightened that a little bit. There's your filter. Just pull it out of that top part. And right here, you'll see that there's an O-ring right there. Can't get it with my fingernail. I'll have to get some kind of a pick to pull it out. But when you bought your new filter, that they'll have that O-ring in there, so that needs to be replaced. All right, so I grabbed a small screwdriver so that I can get that O-ring off. There it is. And I got my new O-ring out of the filter box. Also another old dad's tale. This is probably true. More likely true than the other one. But anyway, take some of the oil that you get and just moisten up that O-ring so it doesn't have dry spots on it. And then go ahead and put that back on where the old one came from. There we go. And that looks fairly clean. I did look to make sure that filter looks the same as the one that came out, and other than not being dirty, it does. So that's good. Go ahead and stick that there. Put the whole thing back down in that housing. Screw it back down. I'm sure there is a torque spec on this. I don't know what it is. I'm going to go by feel, not overdo it like the last people did. If you use a short wrench like this, it's pretty hard to over tighten it unless you just go crazy. That's that. Alright, so now that I've got the filter changed out, and like I said, there's some cavities there that when you take that filter out, it allows some more oil to drain. So now I'm going to go back underneath, I'll put the drain plug back in, and then we'll come back up top and refill with the fresh oil.
Okay, so you can see it's still draining a little bit. I would recommend, go inside, have yourself a cold beer or something as a break right now and let that all come out. But I don't have any cold beer in the fridge, so I'm going to go ahead and just close it up now. I don't think we're talking about more than a few teaspoons, which isn't going to make a big difference. So this, although it seems like the easy part, I've seen people mess this up. So if you haven't worked on vehicles before, if that's not going in real easy like that, you've got it cross-threaded, and that can really ruin your day. So you want to make sure that it's going in very nice and easy, and we'll go ahead and tighten that. Unfortunately, I don't have my wrench in my hands, so I'm going to have to get that. And just like I did on the filter up top, if you use a short ratchet or short wrench, it's pretty hard to over tighten it, but don't go crazy. You don't need to really go nuts on this thing. There is a torque spec. I think it's 20-30 foot-pounds, not a whole heck of a lot. So we'll tighten that up, and then I'll clean everything up around here so that after I start it, I'll know for sure whether that oil came from a new leak or if it's from this leftover. So again, I'll tighten this up, clean it up, and then we're going to add the oil to the top.
All right, so everything's all closed up. I'm going to start putting the fresh oil in. Your oil-filled neck is right here with the yellow lettering, the 5W20. You can see that's what we got, the 5W20. So let's just take that off, put it down somewhere that it doesn't get dirty. I think I'll use my big funnel if it fits. It does not fit, so I'm going to have to use my smaller funnel. There we go. Smaller one fits good, and I'll start with the single quart. The big jug is 5 quarts, and this is 1, so 6 quarts of capacity. All right, so there are 6 quarts is in, and the key thing here is it doesn't matter for you to change or check the level now. We're going to need to start the engine first and get the oil circulating so some of it catches in some of the cavities there before we check the level, and make sure that the 6 put us where we need to be. So I think the 2 places that people can really mess up on an oil change is pretty straightforward, as you can see, but the 2 places you can mess up are that drain plug, over tightening it or putting it in cross thread and messing up the threads in the oil pan, or overfilling. The thing is that if you underfill, at least your vehicle will give you a warning light that tell you're low on oil. If you overfill, it won't, but it can really cause some bad problems if you overfill a lot. So you don't want to do that. You definitely need to check the level, but it'll probably give me a false reading if I check it now because none of that oil has gotten stuck in the filter canister. So I'm going to put the lid back on, cap, and I'm going to start it up for 30 seconds or a minute, Then let it sit for 30 seconds or a minute so the oil kind of settles, and then we'll check the level. Okay, so let the vehicle run for 30 seconds or a minute. It's been shut down now for 30 seconds or a minute. I'm going to go ahead and put this on. It's really easy. Just slide it right back in to the center part there, goes back, and you can feel it as it wiggles into the right spot. Oops, it's not the right spot, right there. You can see that this goes up through that whole line up. Yeah. The dipstick is over here. So I'm not going to look at it the first time. I won't even pay attention. Just clean it off immediately because some oil might have been splashed up on it. Make sure you go all the way down to seat it. Bring it up, and the oil should be within those hatch marks here of the safe. I don't know if the camera shows it, but I'm right there. So I'm about 3/4 of the way up the safe mark. So we're in good shape. The amount of oil was correct. If you got too much, don't think, oh, that's okay, I just have a little extra. Be sure and drain some down to get it down at that safe mark. Being high on oil can be as bad as being low. You don't want to do that, and your vehicle won't tell you it's hot. So, we're done with this. Wish everybody luck, and I hope that helped out. All right, so our used oil is here. Some people say, well, what do I do with all the used oil? What I do is put it back into the containers that I just bought it in. And most every auto parts, and in some states I believe it's required that they take back the used oil. They actually like to take it back because they get paid for it. They can sell that oil. So check with them when you buy your oil, whether you can bring back the used oil. I'd be surprised if they say no. If not, probably even oil change places will take it because, like I said, they do get paid for it. So I'm just going to take this out of the catch basin, put it back into the bottle that we bought the oil in, take it back to auto parts, and be done with it.